There's a no authenticity that's lost. But I mean, yes.
It's
All right, so let's get started.
another football show, and we're going to be discussing some Nigerian players in European football teams, particularly Michael Kayode and Patrick Dogu. And with me to do that is Mustafa Jinodo and Kule Williams. You guys are welcome to the show.
Okay, welcome, guys. Before we start looking at the players, we do have this problem in Nigeria, which throughout the diaspora, whether they're fully Nigerian or one of their parents is Nigerian or not, you have players who play all over the world that are of Nigerian origin and are doing well. So it seems like it's sort of sad. We have so much talent, but nobody wants to represent Nigeria for many proper reasons as far as I'm concerned. Look at guys like Olise, who plays for Bayern Munich. He's partly Nigerian. Musiala is partly Nigerian. Obi is partly Nigerian. I think his mother's from Denmark. So it's a big problem. So, Kule, what do you think in general is the problem? And I think part of it may be our domestic leagues and everything, but part of it is just that a lot of Nigerians are born in Europe now, and their parents, maybe even their parents, aren't Nigerian anymore. They've been there for 2 or 3 generations. That makes a big difference too. What do you think, Kunle? Yeah,
Yeah,
is Kunle
funny
there?
enough, I saw this similar thing sort of happen to Fiji in rugby sevens. In rugby sevens, Fiji dominated for many, many years and nobody came close. Then suddenly you started seeing Fijian players playing for England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and all the other different nations. And then suddenly their dominance began to wane. That's in sevens rugby.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you dilute your country and you take all your best players and they play for other countries.
Hmm.
And we have a back line of an Alaba from Barcelona, an Akanji from Man City, a Patrick Dogu from Manchester United, and the Fikayo from the Italian League. That's never going to happen. We have, a Saka that's never going to happen, a Musiala that's never going to happen. And I place 100% of this blame squarely on the door of the Nigerian Football Association. And because of the way that they manage the club and the way they demotivate talent in the diaspora from coming to play for us with this misguided arrogance and demanding of, and then these stories that we hear of people asking money from funds, just like what happened to Mbappe with Cameroon. And we hear stories of this with Nigeria as well. And then, unofficially though, you hear them say we have to eat. So if you have to eat, then you can't compete. If that's your excuse, you have to eat in order to compromise the best that you can do, then you can't compete, and it's not for you. And that's the main back-breaking damage of Nigeria's football association, because right now we should not be struggling to enter into the World Cup. We should be like the Rangers or the Celtic of Africa. We should be
Hmm.
expecting to get there every time. We have the largest pool resource of sub-Saharan Africans who have the highest level of twitch muscles, explosive muscle and strength ratio to power. We have that. So, I mean, we should be dominating the way the Kenyans dominate long distance, but we don't, because all these players play for other countries in Europe.
Hmm.
And it's Europe, it's not South America. I don't see Nigerian players playing for South American countries. They're leaving to play for European countries, only European countries. That's where they're all going to, whether it's England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, or all the other Western and specifically Western European countries are
Yeah.
the ones that have laid waste to
Yeah.
Nigerian talent that is not playing for Nigeria.
And it's a lot more because when Nigeria first came up, not when we first came up, but when we started doing very well with Bonfria Joe, not Bonfria Joe, with Westerhof, it was only a few leagues we played in Holland and Belgium. We weren't widespread, but now you'll see everywhere. We have guys in Italian league, Spanish league, and a lot of them have never even stepped foot in Nigeria. What do you think, Falabi?
I agree with you, and I think what Kule said is quite in order. It's NFA all the way. The buck stops at the NFA. It's just unfortunate that the government continues to employ charlatans to manage our NFA. In an ideal world, you would expect the likes of our ex-players Sunday Olise, George Finidi, JJ Okocha, Peter Rufai. Some of them are as educated as having master's degrees to come and administer our football. Some of the players that Kule have mentioned who are playing in European leagues are players that as kids have seen some of the JJs and the Kanus as idols. Imagine if they were running our NFA and our NFA was to some extent autonomous. You'd imagine that those players would look forward to playing for Nigeria. But when they look at the NFA and they see some misfits that don't even know anything about football administration, they quickly make their decision not to play for Nigeria. So I feel our NFA is filled with positions with the wrong people. And that's why you find out that most of the ex-Super Eagles that come in as manager really don't last because they will always find problems working with the NFA because it's all about some Hausa guy that probably doesn't know anything about football, trying to tell them what they know so well. A lot of these Nigerian players, George Finidi, Kanu Nwankwo, JJ Okocha, they've played under elite coaches at the very highest level. So to some extent, they understand the way football is run and managed. So the buck stops at the NFA. NFA is culpable for most of these players that are supposed to be playing for Nigeria, playing for other teams. I mean, look at Patrick Dogu that's playing for Denmark and Manchester United. Look at this Michael Kayode guy who is playing for Brentford. I mean, we can assemble a squad of World Cup beaters who have declined playing for Nigeria, and for good reason so. So I think it's NFA all the way, really.
Yes, it's NFA. So can you name one of the players that we were focusing on earlier on our group?
Yeah, Michael Kayode, very, very good 1v1 defender, and is also very versatile, good in the air, has a lot of pace. He plays for Brentford in England. And these are the kind of players we expect in the national team. At least in every position in the Super Eagles, we should have about 2 or 3 good players from Europe so that there can be competition for places. When there's competition for places, you see that the team is even better organized. Look at our center defensive midfield area. The only person we know about is this guy that plays for Leicester. I can't remember his name now. We don't have any other good central defensive midfielder.
Cool. Do you know who the guy that plays for Leicester in central defense? Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, he's skinny boy. Oh my goodness. I know who you're talking about.
So yeah. You look at all these players. You look at all these players.
I'll find it away.
Yeah. You look at all these players and you're wondering who's going to replace them. When they leave, who will take their position? So and you look at our attacking midfield too. If Iwobi goes today, where is the next JJ Okocha? He's probably playing for an European team. So yeah. And if you look at most of this
Wilfred Ndidi.
Yes, Wilfred Ndidi, thank you. Wilfred Ndidi. And he's gonna go down with Leicester now because Leicester has been relegated. And he'll probably find another mediocre European team to play for. You'll probably find another mediocre team in Europe to play for instead of developing his game at the very highest level. He's been in Leicester for a very long time. He just gets called up for Nigeria and then he goes back. But if he has another player that plays that position and is being, pushed in that position, then he would improve his game. But he knows that that position is sealed. If Nigeria qualify for the World Cup tomorrow, it's going to be Ndidi. There's no other Nigerian player that is good enough that can replace him. And the probably likely person to replace him.
There's a CDM of Brentford. I can't remember his name, or Brighton. Onyeka. That's very good. That's Nigerian.
Onyeka.
I can't remember his name now.
I think it's Onyeka. 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 It's Onyeka. And that Onyeka too.
I don't think I can hear
it. They would likely pick Ndidi before Onyeka. What I'm trying to say is that if most of these players that are playing for other countries opt to play for Nigeria, there'll be competition for positions. There'll be competition for positions. And
even Nigerian players, once they leave here, even if they leave at 17 or 18 years old and go to Europe, they'll just play for those teams. We're even lucky that this guy's playing for us, Osimhen. He could have played for Italy.
And even Ademola Lookman to some extent. We are lucky Ademola Lookman is playing for us.
Yeah, because so it looks like.
Yeah, my question is, how much experience does this Malian coach have with European footballers and coaching European footballers?
That one
Has
is
he
just for
had
money.
any experience with them? Because their conditioning is different, the way they think is different, their philosophy is different. And you're at a
What's the name of
disadvantage
Nigeria's
if you
coach?
don't have experience there.
Eric
I'm not saying the Malian coach is bad because from Mali.
Eric
I'm saying that
Chell.
does he have experience of working with European based players, because they have a different philosophy.
He has zero experience. His name is Eric Chell. He doesn't have any experience about African football or Nigerian football. When has Mali ever qualified for the World Cup? First question. When you are talking about the top teams
So
in
it's
Africa,
like me or you. It's like me or you going to Google and picking Nigerian players and dropping
yes,
them in the team and saying, let's see what happens.
or our physical education teacher in international school, Mr. Shemidara, taking over the Super Eagles. You can imagine how ridiculous that is.
Coach, 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 look at me, look at
So
me.
If you look at Mali doesn't have any pedigree when it comes to world or African football. They're not even near us. You talk about the top teams in Africa. You mentioned Nigeria, Egypt, Cameroon, Ghana, Morocco. Where is Mali? Why would you get a Malian coach to coach the Super Eagles? It just shows how
there is no interest from the NFA to do anything.
It shows how depraved
they are not
committed
committed
is.
to
I checked his coaching.
The players
he's
are
only
committed.
He's only been coaching for 2 years.
And the coach lacks talent, is committed.
Can you imagine? Mustafa was just only been coaching for 2 years.
In a Division 3 French team.
Can you imagine?
French team, Division 3. Called Cologne.
Can you imagine?
Division 3.
Can you imagine?
That one is there to help them chop their money now.
Exactly.
Until the federation is interested in competing, I don't think that you should be excited about anything coming out of Nigerian football for now. When the federation, I mean, the last time it was competitive was under Abacha, because he was using it sort of like to launder his image. So he was using,
I think Kule is breaking
football as a propaganda, as a weapon of propaganda. So that was why he was able to make sure it was well funded and well supported back in the day. I'm not saying we need to do something like that again, but without the inspiration to motivate excellence and success, which does not exist right now. All that exists right now is what is going on with Nigerian government. Same thing in football. We need to make money.
That's why, Kule, I think they should take away NFA from the government and let it be managed by the private sector. Let it be autonomous from government control. Then it will be run by like a proper private sector.
I don't think FIFA will allow that. FIFA won't allow that.
No, the US is private. US football is private. US football is private, I think. Yeah.
At least if it's not.
But international football is not. International football.
No. I mean the US national team. They're private. They're funded by private. The government doesn't fund it.
I see.
Yes.
We need that kind of model.
I don't know if
we need that kind of model. We need that kind of model for the NFA to work, so that people can be held accountable, so that the right people can be hired in positions of administration. And our football.
But the problem is that even if they privatize it, somebody in government will give it to his friend. This thing, Nigeria is so bad, man.
Yeah, it's just a microcosm of everything that's happening in Nigeria.
Oh yeah, the whole country, everything, even down to our
classic. Full of resources that we can't maximize because of corruption, whether it's oil or human beings that can run around and kick a football. It's the same problem.
And nobody's held accountable. The politicians aren't held accountable. No. It's like everybody's apathetic. There's too much apathy.
Yes, if you complain, you're called out as treason or sedition. Let
me give you an example. I'll give you an example.
That somebody wanted to start having shadow government.
Yeah. I'll give you an example. Jamaica has
that they wanted to. Is it?
Yeah, Jamaica has 2 million people, but yet every year
they wanted to start a shadow government and he got called out. Sorry, I don't mean to. I'm jumping in.
Oh yeah,
sorry.
No, I was saying Jamaica is only 2 million people. They win 100 meters every year. Can you imagine Nigeria? We have 300 million people. They're just like the Jamaicans. We've never won an Olympic gold medal in 100. So it's the idea we have super resources, but our organization is messed up, corruption, and even the athletes themselves. It's all about money. Like even Osimhen, he doesn't care if he doesn't win World Cup because he wants to win for his club team. You know, what do you think, Kule?
Yeah, look at even Daley Thompson from the 1980s. That was the decathlete of the 1980 something Olympics in Los Angeles, or so many of them.
Olajuwon played for the US.
Hakeem Olajuwon, this disillusionment with Nigerian government. And until it sorts itself out, this nation is reeking of talent, but that talent cannot be utilized. We cannot see the product of these things until we're able to put the people there who are actually motivated to perform. Until then, even if you do get through, you're not going to get far. You're not going to do anything exciting that you would hope to do because there's no motivation to do their best.
Yeah.
And they'll always end up in disappointment. So that's what we pray for.
So let's talk about the last thing. A big problem with Nigerian football, we still have enough talent on ground in Nigeria. So also we need to pump more money into our youth football and also into our domestic league. Once you pump to domestic league and start feeding them to Europe, but make sure you have enough of a base of players who are good enough to hold the team down. What do you think, Afolabi?
Yeah, absolutely. Football is being developed from the grassroots, and it's not done like that anymore. When Clemens Westerhoff and Bonfred Joe came to Nigeria, we had a base, a football team that was like a base. So what they did that time was that when we have a match, we already have a base of a pool of football players in Nigeria. We just bring in like 4 or 5 or 6 foreign-based players to join the already home-based players who already are cohesive, who understand each other. That's what Westerhoff and Bonfred Joe were doing. And they went to every local club side to watch Nigerian player and scout for talent. Once they spot a Nigerian player that was good, they have contacts in Holland and some places in Europe, and they help them to leave our shores, and then they get better deals outside Nigeria. And then those guys can come back and play for Nigeria. But right now, the Nigerian coach doesn't even stay in Nigeria. He doesn't watch any local league match. How do you develop players and talent from grassroots?
No, there's no way. These guys will never do anything in the World Cup. And this goes back because during the time of Okocha and Co, when that was during military government, NFA was a lot more disciplined, and they spent money. They organized with other countries and did the training and everything. What do you think, Afolabi? Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you, and that's exactly what I'm saying. That Clemens Westerhoff and Bonfred Joe were given a lot of support by the government,
by the federal government.
By the federal government. In 1994. We made our debut in USA 94, and we did very well. And 2 years later, we won the Olympic gold in Atlanta. Those were the golden years of Nigerian football. And it was because of the way the military government helped Clemens Westerhoff and Bonfred Joe to develop our football. They were always at every local league match, traveling from one state to another, trying to spot talent who were good enough for Nigeria. And they would train them well enough. And then when we had the match, they would just bring in like 2 or 3 or 4 foreign-based players. So that cohesiveness was there. Look at what South Africa is doing. They developed from grassroots. They have very little talent, but they have a lot of home-based players in their team. Now, because they
and they have a style of play, and they understand each other.
Yes, because there's chemistry. We don't have a pool of home-based players that we can call.
Same thing in Spain. Most of them are from Barcelona.
Exactly.
And they know each other.
Most of them are from Barcelona and from all this La Masia, academy and stuff. So we need that kind of model in Nigeria to move forward.
Yeah, but it's all about money and getting rid of corruption. Okay, so we're almost done. What are your last thoughts, Kunle, and before we head out?
Yeah, so we've looked at the utter futility of Nigeria. Specifically, we're now trying to compete for a playoff position with South Africa, who, when we're even half serious, are supposed to beat, but even now we're not even half serious. I'm not excited about us going far in the World Cup. I'm very disappointed. And it's going the way of the perfect storm of Nigerian governance as football, which is that there's no motivation to do anything.
Yeah.
Except to chop. And this is what happens when the pigs are in the trough and no one's interested in competing for excellence.
Then the players will do their own too.
Nigerian football.
The players will do their own too. They'll say, okay, let me just focus on my European team and do well. I mean, and then upcoming players, if they have a chance to play for another country, they will. Yeah. All right, Afolabi, take us out. What are your last thoughts?
Yeah, we need a revolution. We need a revolution.
We need to encourage more of our talent that is playing for other European countries to come to Nigeria and play by revamping our NFA. Look at Brazil. If Brazil has a World Cup game, they will rush to Brazil because they know that if you don't come, there are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 other players good enough to play your
You need
position.
position.
So
Yeah.
so you don't play with that opportunity. But in Nigeria, it's not like that. So I think we need to revamp the NFA, put the right people there, put the right administrators there, get ex-players involved with our football management. Then
Revolution. Only revolution can do that. We need
Buddy
a revolution.
Buddy
Nothing
Power
else
carry
but a
Okoroji.
revolution can.
Could you remember when we said Buddy Power carried?
Yeah.
Sam Okoroji was the pallbearer at his funeral. Remember that?
Sam Okoroji was a good player. I don't want to laugh about him.
Yeah, very talented.
All right, guys. Nice one. This is our third
Stay
episode
rested.
of Nigeria United. Thank you. We had almost 300 views last week. We want our fans in Nigeria. Like, subscribe, share with your fans. We're kicking it bad, man. Don't watch ESPN and ESPN football. Watch our own. Don't watch John Barnes. John Barnes looks like he eats too much egg in his head. All right, guys. Have a nice one.
All right.
Have a nice one.
Yeah, sure.